So what happens when you take a bunch of engineering principles and you apply them to your home? Well, you find out what connects craft rooms with workshops, claw hammers with double-sided tape, microchips with safety pins, and angle grinders with bralettes. It's the Unified Home Organisational System. UHOS. UHOS. Oh, I think I'm having a montage. Hey makers! As you know from my previous videos, I've been reorganising my whole house with the organisation system that I've created. And it's working awesomely. So I'm going to start touring you through the various rooms, starting today with my craft room. Now, to reiterate from my previous videos, which room this is doesn't actually matter. The whole point of this system is that it can apply to everything and to any room. This video is also your key to justifying a 3D printer to your other half. Offer to make them the ultimate craft room or sewing room. If only you had a 3D printer. And then all the components just happen to work in your workshop, or for your PC gaming components or anything else you want. Yes, this is the ultimate Trojan horse of room design. Right, let's get to it. I'm going to show you 3 chunks. First, an overview of the problems that I've continually faced in my craft room. Then, I'll give you a little tour of the various solutions in action and demonstrate how some of the principles apply from my previous video. Finally, to help you get started, I'll give you a simple summary of the top 10 parts I'd recommend to take your first steps and tell you where to get all the bits that you need to start your own amazing home organisation system. Craft rooms are wonderful examples of the challenge of home organisation. They're absolutely rammed full of things, and the tools you need change radically depending on the project you're doing. This room ended up in a total mess.
What do you mean I need to tidy?
Tired of starting new projects in the accumulated shambles of the previous ones, or having to scurry funge the room whenever people were coming over, I wanted to fix it permanently. There are 3 key ways of thinking that you should consider when designing your room. The first is how you group items. All those needles, pins, buttons, reels, bobbins, sequins, they just fill the drawers and the cupboards. Much like information architectures in technology, group and categorize. In simple terms, think of your whole room like folders and files. This allows your brain to quickly categorize things to locate. So, all my jewellery making stuff is over there. And you can see that I've marked that drawer with jewellery making. Then within that drawer, I've got it structured so all the wires are just in the one corner. And bang, I'm down to just one box. The second thing is how frequently you use the items. Design the most frequently used things to be close at hand. Essentially, if I use things every time I'm sewing, well, they go here, right next to the sewing machine. If I use it very commonly, it goes on the wall. If I use things rarely, they go in these drawers. And if they really are a once-a-project task, I put them in my craft room dungeon. Through that door. So think about this when you're designing your layout in your workshop or electronics room or kitchen. And by doing so, you'll hugely reduce the amount of time it takes for you to complete tasks, because the most common things you use will always be at hand. The third thing is design for change. Things are going to change. And whilst you can't predict how, you can design for it. If I get rid of my Cricut die cutter and opt for a new silhouette, all the attachments might be slightly different. So how can my system adapt to that? So let's start here, where I work. So this space I've designed to be super clear and super simple. It's a good place to start, as it's here that you can see the full dynamism that a room like this or any workshop demands. Depending on what project I'm doing, I will have quite radically different tools required. So this space has been designed to be super flexible in seconds. With this design, I can simply grab the things I want off the wall, drop them onto this Gridfinity shelf, and like magic, my room has adapted to keep everything in reach. Oh, and I should say here, there's literally hundreds of models and files that I've sourced, and even more that I've designed myself. So if you do spot anything, just shout in the comment the timestamp you saw it, and I'll happily share it for free. Now, let's move to the wall. This is my little thread quarters. I keep all of my frequent stuff here. Back to the principles I mentioned, this makes it super easy to locate those common items. Imagine if all this was in the drawers and you had to open each drawer to find the item you needed. I've designed this wall with multi-board and then Gridfinity units that slot into these brilliant shelves from David D that I found on Printables. What these do is allow you to use any Gridfinity design on multi-board, and not only that, they are super easy to move around with these slot-in adapters that he designed. I really appreciated the adaptability of this approach as I was putting up these. I started with 1x5 shelves and organised the threads by colour, but I found that I had too many red threads to fit in the X or Z direction. By switching the 1x5 shelf with a 2x5 shelf, I was just able to extend into the Y direction. Yes, I view the world in 3D printing terms. Anyway, what's great is I could just extend again in future if I needed to go for a 3x5 shelf. The same principle applies for anything that you have. So for example, if you were storing electronics parts and ended up with more LEDs of a colour than you thought. Now you'll see I've got a range of solutions here, but I want to highlight how I've resisted over-bespoking things and have maintained modularity. Take my sewing machine feet. I could have made moulds for each foot to perfectly sit in, a bit like this. But instead, I've used a simple Gridfinity 1x1 bin because these can be used all over the room and indeed all over the house, making them much more flexible. And these vinyl reel holders are also doubling up as glue gun mounts here. Ooh, there we go. And a tape holder here, and also a book holder over there. Furthermore, I've got them in my workshop for caulk and silicone and in my kitchen for cling film. Do you see how this universal design thinking starts to really get quite cool? Now, as I've designed everything to be Gridfinity compatible, it means all these items can be instantly moved from the wall to any flat surface. So if I stop using these poppers, then they can instantly be dropped into a drawer. Not only that, if I'm designing something really big, like doing curtains, and I want to take things temporarily downstairs, then I can literally create a mobile sewing room that I can carry securely and then bring it all back when I'm finished. This sort of fluid organising system works so well when you're juggling disciplines. Like the ottoman I recently made in the bedroom. Well, that was naturally a bit of sewing mixed with woodworking. So I could bring all the tools I needed for that particular project together seamlessly. So we've gone from the highest frequency place, my desk, to the next most frequent, the wall. And now we're moving to those occasional things. Stuff that's super handy when you need it, but it's not for every project. Here I've stored everything in drawers and they're all labelled with modular labels, so I can easily switch the drawers around in future. Then inside each drawer, I've got Gridfinity organisers for everything small and NeoGrid for the larger items. This works brilliantly. I'm storing fabrics in this drawer in a similar way to how I'm storing my clothes in my dressing room and in fact my tools in my workshop. with NeoGrid. Notice here that Gridfinity bins can be made stackable. Here I'm stacking the paper clips because this allows me to keep the footprint small, and when I stack things I try to make sure that it's only when the bin underneath contains the same thing. I've got loads of vinyl rolls here, and as soon as I take them out of the packet I don't know what the vinyl is for. Is it for putting on t-shirts? Is it for putting on solid things? But luckily I've been able to label them, so all the settings are already there. Anyone who uses vinyl will know how annoying it is to have to look it up, so I love this solution. Now, if you're worried about dust, then you can make little lids for the bins. So these popper boxes have cute little lids. You may have noticed that all of my storage items and grids are white. This is deliberate. I want those to sink into the background and for the items to pop out against them, making them easier to find. Gridfinity solutions often look like the early days of the web, a mad multicoloured array of boxes people have made. But there's a reason websites eventually settled on a more limited colour palette. And white is a great colour to let items really pop. Now, if you're kitting out an entire room like I have, then it will take time for the printer to print all these items. I actually have 5 3D printers. A Prusa, which was my first, then a massive Creality CR-10 Max, which allows me to print large items up to 470mm squared. But I bought a bamboo P1S last year. I was blown away by how fast and accurate this was compared to my previous machines. So impressed that I bought 2 more. But one fundamental point remains with all this organising I've done. I've created masses of capacity. This wall remains with loads of space. Let's go through the top 10 parts you need to make this yourself. Firstly, Gridfinity grids. This is a Gridfinity grid. The square is a standard size that allows every single item in the ecosystem to click into the grid. I'll link to various generators in the description, but they'll all let you easily generate grids in the size that you want. I've gone with the simple grids. They're the fastest to print, much cheaper than the full chunky versions, and I just have no issues with parts falling over. So anything more is over-engineered in my case. The second thing is Gridfinity bins. Now, there's thousands and thousands of solutions out there, but for the vast majority of things, you just need a bin generator. Links in the description depending on your software persuasion. These let you create bins of different widths, depths and heights really quickly. They let you create subdividers within the bin, put labels on, add little scoops to help you dig those pieces out of the box, and much more. They take the heavy lifting out of your designs and let you throw together quickly all the boxes that you need. The third thing is NeoGrid components. I've created loads of NeoGrid connectors and I think they're all pretty intuitive, but if you don't know where to start, you could literally just print X pieces and use these for everything. The other options are just to help with fitting into drawers and aesthetics, so you can print them when you need. Multi-board grids. The maker has designed one for the centre of grids, one for each corner, one for the straights and so on. But again, this overcomplicates in most cases. So for all your vertical spaces, I'd just recommend the multi-board core grid for everything. Just print one type of grid and you'll radically simplify your requirements and create a much more universal system if you ever want to move things around. You also don't need to use these connectors. You can just screw to the wall, but they're very handy to keep things tightly aligned, and you can use 1 screw instead of 4. You can use the 2 connector type for the edges. Now there's a dizzying array of multi-board connector options, and they may be great for your use case, but I love modularity, universality, and adaptability. For this, in my view, the best solution actually came from a creator who modded multi-board and created these. These are super clever, quick connectors that you can use a multi-board screw to really secure things. These are totally secure when screwed in, but super easy to take out and move around. These two pieces become immensely handy. Put one for a twistable angled mount, put two for a secure and rigid one. We then want to ensure that all our Gridfinity stuff can be easily moved to the wall when and if required. A range of Gridfinity shelves that use quick connectors to fix to multiboard. This is amazingly handy, and I use these all over the place, as you can see. Peg hooks. Then there's all those rules, spirit levels and other stuff in your house that often has these little holes for hanging. That's where these peg hooks come in. Super simple to print, and again, they screw into these holes in multiboard, so they work exceptionally well. Big hooks. Yes, I like big hooks, and I cannot lie. I've designed a whole set of different sizes of these. There's just so many things that these things are useful for, and they're one of those super handy models to have at your fingertips. I use these for vinyl rolls, glue gun holders, in the kitchen for cling film, tin foil and more, in the workshop for silicone or caulk. They're just super handy files to have. Oh, one thing I haven't shown you is my underwear. Software is in the devices on your desk. Hardware is the things on your desk. So the things under your desk are called underwear. So let's have a look under the table. I've designed it to help manage wires, connectors, power sockets and all the rest. It's multiboard compatible, so it just makes it easy to clip the wires out of the way. You can use this under the desk or on the walls, and it's brilliant because when you need to reorganize your wires, it's so easy to switch your underwear. And finally, well, the 10th item could have been the windowed bins that cleverly use microscope slide glass as their window. It could have also been these handy click-in holders for scissors, chisels or anything else similar. But no, the 10th is Plantfinity, my range of custom plant pots that allow you to beautify your walls, desks and life in general. Okay, that last one might have been slightly tongue-in-cheek, and of course, this is by no means the complete list. There's masses more that you'll find super handy. Literally thousands of great designs out there. These are simply your starting points to help get your head around the core ecosystems that people often struggle with. Once you grasp these, it's easy to then extend and add extra things. You'll see I've got custom models I've made for reels, a magnetic Gridfinity tray that holds pins, and much, 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 much more. So now you know how I've applied my home organisation logic to my sewing room. It's a breath of fresh air to use, and I can categorically say that. But the ultimate test of these concepts is in the use. You can literally feel how much easier it is to locate things, how much more streamlined my work process is. Even more importantly, I haven't really had to care too much about deciding on the right place for things. If I decide I've put something in the wrong place, I can just reorganise it in seconds. This is what an agile home organisation system feels like. So let me know what rooms you'd like to see next. I've got so much more to share, including my top secret project, which I'll be building in the next few months. This will be the ultimate space. Well, I say it's top secret. I've already spilled the beans to my Patreons, but I can trust them, can't I? Well, I'll list all their names here so you know who spilled my secret. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support, as always. As I mentioned, if you've spotted any model in this video that you'd like to have, just comment below. I will be uploading all of them in the coming months. I just need to find more hours in the day to do it with all these projects on the go. But shout and I'll share anything you fancy. Right, now I can use this wonderful new room to finish this t-shirt design that Richard Noble inspired me to make in the comments last week. Catch you next time, folks. So gang, did I get all the points? I don't want to be a pedant, but anti-disestablishmentarianism is hardly a word compared to Llanfair Pwll Gwyngyll Gogerich and Drobwyll Llantyselio Gogogoch.